I absolutely think 100% that the Hunger Games books are just YA trash, okay? They're young adult trash. But it is difficult to ignore something good when you see it. Something that is phenomenal about the Hunger Games books, especially the first book, is the first chapter. It is literally the chapter that convinced me to come back and read young adult because for so many years I have been convinced that young adult really doesn't have good writing. It's just not great. There is really nothing much to it. The writers themselves don't respect the damn shtick, and they don't really write well. And if they are trying to write something, they don't try hard, and they don't really, because it's sort of teenagers. You don't put much more effort. But I was proven wrong, and I was silenced. I was basically dumbstruck by how brilliant the first chapter in the Hunger Games books is, because this chapter is bafflingly good. This chapter is so good, it doesn't make sense. It's so good, you see something this efficient and this brilliant, this mechanically brilliant, once in every 2, 3, 5, half a decade or a decade. Okay, so let's talk about the first chapter and what we see in the first chapter, basically the things that we get to see in the first chapter. So immediately we get to learn that it's the day of the reaping, where they will choose. Okay, they'll choose participants in the Hunger Games. This is important because it basically sets up the inciting incident. Okay, what happens in beginnings of books is that there's going to be a lot of world building. Okay, by establishing the reaping, and it's the day of the reaping, the audience gets to stick along because the interest is kept through the information that will be thrown their way soon after. And it is true. Soon after, we have a bucket load of information that is literally thrust in our faces. So it's a brilliant opening to the book because we learn immediately and the tension spikes. Right, yeah, so you know that Brim is going to be chosen and Katniss will have to volunteer in her way. Don't worry, it's not a freaking spoiler. Anyhow, Brim is introduced, and of course, like any good writer, Suzanne Collins puts a lot of effort to get us attached to this innocent little girl, okay? Then she sets up the world. They live in Sim, or Siam, whatever, I just read the damn text, so it's SEAM. It is in District 12, okay? She also sets up the oppressive, very terrible caste and social structure, okay? Detailing the capital, the Hunger Games, what the Hunger Games are, and how that came to be, and the cataclysmic events that happened toward the speech in the town square. Okay, she also sets up how unjust and corrupt everything is. We even see Katniss, she breaks the law by sneaking out, but then she sells meat to the literal beastkeepers. Like, imagine if you broke the law and then you went up to a policeman and then you sold whatever you got, like you robbed it's not equal, but let's say you stole something and then you sell it to a policeman. That's what we're dealing with here. Okay, the capital is terribly corrupt. Even this far, we are not even in the capital, and we already know that they are extremely corrupt. This is important. I'll get to why this is important in a bit. What archetype is Katniss Everdeen? The archetype Katniss Everdeen is basically the flat character archetype. So of course there is the truth. Okay, I'll simulate it for you. Okay, let's say you believe in something. Okay, that thing is correct. Now what can happen is that maybe you go through a lived experience. Okay, this lived experience breaks you down. It tests your conviction on the truth that the correct thing, it tests your conviction. You go through events and now you either believe in it or don't, because it has become really difficult to continue to believe. You can either be like, Jesus, and you can become the prophet archetype, okay? And you can hold on to the truth despite all the terrible things that you have endured, okay? Or what can happen is that maybe you are the devil, from my religion, okay? The devil was a good person, he had the truth, but then of course he became jealous and, he lost the truth. And if you hold on to the truth, you are a flat character, okay? Your objective is to, like Jesus, teach the world, teach the people. In other words, the people are corrupted. As I said moments ago, Cadmus and Suzanne, we see that the capital is terribly corrupted. So Cadmus's job is basically like the prophet archetype. She is going to have to teach these bastards. Moving back, you can have a negative character arc where you lose the truth. Okay, for instance, Boromir, one of my favorite characters from Lord of the Rings, is actually someone who has a negative character arc. He is tempted by the ring, okay, and he succumbs to its temptation. We have Gandalf, who is the flat character archetype, because Gandalf is also tempted by the ring. At least the ring tries its best, as it always does. And of course, Gandalf doesn't succumb to the temptation of the ring. We have other characters in the Lord of the Rings. We have like Gollum, who also has succumbed to the temptation of the ring. This is the same. We have Katniss. She is going to be the prophet. There is another character, archetype, which is the positive character archetype. Basically, the student. The student initially starts out as someone who doesn't know the truth. They don't have the truth, but they go on a journey to learn the truth. Okay, so this is why the first chapter is a mechanical masterpiece. The reason why is because it establishes Katniss Everdeen as the teacher, because they choose a child. This corrupt system doesn't really give a damn. Number two, we see that the poor people are more affected by the reaping, because the poor people need more supplies. I forgot the name, something like Tracy, something like that. They end up entering their children into the reaping again and again and again for more supplies, right? Yeah. And this puts children in danger. So the world is corrupted, and Katniss will have to save the world. In other words, she will have to Jesus the shit out of this world, okay? This is why the first chapter is, for the Hunger Games, is just a mechanical masterpiece, because not only does it set up the world, it also sets up the characters, the supporting characters, and also it sets up the main conflict, and also it establishes the tension for the rest of the story. For so many pages, we actually don't start the competition. Okay, the competition doesn't start for quite a long time, but it doesn't matter, because it's hyped up, right? It's beautifully hyped up, and you can see this even in the beginning of the first chapter. And then on top of that, we see that this first chapter sets up Katniss Everdeen as a character. This is what I'm talking about. For one chapter to do so much, where most authors literally need 25% of their story to get all of these things and to set up all of these things, it's really insane. Okay, this first chapter impresses me. It impressed me so much that it actually changed my opinion that I had held up to that point for a whole year about young adult books. And I really do believe wholeheartedly that the young adult genre is a beautiful genre. Anyhow, I hope that you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Please subscribe. Please, 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 please.